Alrighty, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hex is pumping, Hedron's pumping. We've got Icosa coming out. So plenty to talk about. As usual, at the start of the episode, I'm just going to go through the Hex stats. Sitting at almost 7 cents this week, almost $1,600 per T-share. Um, as I've been talking about in the previous weeks, I like to talk about max length stake prices. So you get almost triple the value whenever you stake for at least 10 years in your T-share value. So if you were looking at a T-share a couple of weeks ago at that 10-year mark, you were looking at about $300 T-shares. Now you're looking at over $500 T-shares on that max stake. So like I said, losing position pretty quickly. Your ability to get those cheap T shares slowly going away, not only with the price action, but the T share rate as well. T share rate sitting at about 23,169 hex. We just crossed 23,000 not too long ago. So that T share rate's doing what it always does, up and to the right. Same thing with our adoption. We just crossed 100,000 stakers. We're almost 2,000 past that mark. So adoption continues to go up. T-shares continue to go up. Payouts still sitting at over 6 hex per T-share. Looking really good. Let's look at some of this price action. So
Nice.
the way I've set up these charts today on this is I have them set for the 19th of June. Reason I have that date set is because this is whenever Alex, the creator of Hedron, announced that he would be releasing Icosa, which we're going to be talking about today, is basically a staking mechanism for Hedron. There's some other functions in there that allow you to make Icosa. We're going to talk about those today, but basically, the announcement of that launch was around the 19th, and as you can see, Hedron is just blown up the market, running circles around it and going up in price since the release of this announcement. But interestingly, it's done good stuff for Hex as well. You can see this initial buy up after the announcement, a little bit of a correction, sideways action, and now we're just up and to the right, looking really similar to this Hedron chart. Um, so really, really bullish news. It's reflecting on both charts. So we can go ahead and just jump right into it. Off the bat, I like the fact that Alex, the creator of Hedron, decided to basically delay the launch of staking. And reason being is we had this initial buy up whenever Hedron first came out, and you saw it go up, but then everybody just started dumping all of those free coins that they were getting.
Yep.
So it really allows kind of waiting to release that staking functionality has allowed us to wash out some of the people that weren't going to really be here long term. And now these people that have started to buy this back up will have that option and at a much better position as well. So
Exactly. Yeah.
really, really good job by Alex there to think about that and allow, especially in the bear market, just allow us to be able to wash out some of those guys.
Yeah. There's actually a very interesting story behind why he chose to do that, which I heard in one of the Telegram chats, voice chats, which is that basically Alex, he sort of observed the way Hex launched, and yeah. So basically, one of the freemium way back then that Bitcoiners could get free hex was that they could do what was called a Bitcoin free claim, where you would just basically sign a statement with your Bitcoin wallet address, just to it was just sort of to validate that this Bitcoin is indeed yours, and just to kind of tie that with the Ethereum address that you're free claiming from, and so that that just tells the contract that you own these bitcoins, so you get this free hex. And another part of that was that the Bitcoin free claimers for hex, they were Richard designed it in a way that they were basically forced to hodl for a year basically all the way throughout launch phase. And his reasoning was that he figured that if people were forced to hold and that they couldn't sell without emergency end staking and penalizing themselves, they would stay in long enough to eventually see the value of Hex um, kind of as sort of a trial period. And then he reasoned that that might incentivize them to actually buy more. And I guess that's one of the things that didn't really work out as Richard intended. And so what we saw was a lot of when those free claim stakes came due, a lot of those Bitcoiners just kind of dumped, and then they just kind of got back into Bitcoin or whatever else.
Yeah,
And so
and that's what we
yeah.
saw around Big Payday, huh?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So Alex kind of observed that and said, and he thought, oh, like trying to gamify it, like really doesn't like the way Richard did, like that doesn't really work because they're going to dump anyway. So what he did was, he kind of separated Icosa and Hedron. Oh, fun fact, when you put the words together, Icosa Hedron means is basically just like a 20-sided polygon. So and
Oh, nice.
when you kind of view it in a 3D plane, the outlying shape is a hexagon. So I
Oh
thought
shit.
it was pretty interesting
Yeah,
symbolism
that's
about
dope.
how complicated how complex the layers are inside of both Icosa and Hedron. But anyway, so he thought that it was better to kind of split the protocol in half basically, and then sort of he basically withheld information as a way of just as you stated earlier, just washing out all the non-believers that thought this was just like a free token to dump for more Hex. And so I don't know if he specifically like timed the bottom, but I think it was pretty, he just felt it was a good time for um Icosa to roll out. So he just waited till now. And so launch is coming up tomorrow for some
Yeah,
states. So yeah.
I'm really excited. I definitely minted some Hedron to get ready to be able to stake some. I'm really excited to
Yeah.
just be able to get free coins and then earn yield on them. Like you literally can't ask for more.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, I mean, that alone, and then you just have all these other functions that go into it. But I
Yeah.
wanted to just point out the stream pump. It's always nice to get a pump on stream.
Oh,
Looks like we're
nice.
breaking some resistance here, trying to
Yeah.
close in on that 7 cent mark. So we'll
Yeah.
keep track of that and see how
Yeah.
that keeps going. But let's go
Nice.
ahead and jump into the Icosa contract. So Icosa is a protocol which builds upon the Hedron protocol to add Hedron staking and additional incentives for staking Hex, as well as jumpstarting the Hedron borrowing system. Icosa is built by the same team behind the Hedron protocol, ensuring seamless integration. So let's go through some of the functions. So you're going to be able to do an HSI buyback. So you can make a HSI stake and sell that stake to the Icosa contract to get paid in Icosa.
Yep.
This is one of the ways to make Icosa. The HSI will be borrowed against by the contract and sent to auction. So this technically means that if you don't get out auctioned, or you have, if it's worth it to get it back, you can basically sell this HSI stake to the Icosa contract and then buy it back in auction. And then literally you can just do it again. You could just
Yeah.
sell it back for more Icosa.
Yeah. Exactly.
So a
That-
little bit of a circular system there. It kind of, there's nothing really promised because it does kind of depend, what kind of money people are going to put up to buy that in the auction. But if it's worth it, a nice little circular system there for you to just make yourself some free yield. And
yeah. Well, it's there's also some caveats to that because it's not it's not technically free because you're actually giving up value for value
yeah,
because you actually have to you're parting with your stake. But the thing is it sort of acts as an accelerator for the Hedron burning system through the
yeah,
liquidation options, because what happens is the contract it it not only gives you liquid Icosa so that you can stake it in the Icosa staking pool, but what it does is it takes an advance on all the borrowable Hedron that's associated with the stake, and then that gets distributed to one of the staking pools that we'll cover later. But
yeah.
And then what it does is it purposely doesn't pay back the advance. So 90 days later, it goes back up for auction. And so you have a chance, like if that stake has some sentimental value for you, and you want to get it back, what you'd have to do is you'd have to go on to the liquidation auctions, and then you have to bid on it with whatever hedron you have. So yeah, you have a chance to earn your stake back, but it'll cost the same amount of hedron that was associated with the stake. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So you know, in a sense, let's say you want to get Icosa with one of your HSIs,
Yeah.
but you still want to have that hex stake. You could get that Icosa, and as long as you have the hedron to win it in auction, you can get that hex stake back. And then it kind of just adds the, like it says up here, kind of adding to that borrowing system, because it's in turn using that to add to the pool that you can all get in, and we're going to cover that in just a second. But the
Yeah.
second function that you can do is you can stake your hedron for Icosa. The daily yield is determined by the amount of daily hedron burnt within the hedron contract. There are minimum stake lengths and bonuses associated with the stake size. So we're just gonna kind of cover like basic concepts. If you guys really want a good tutorial video, I would highly recommend Crypto Coffee or David Feeder. I was watching both of their tutorial videos, and they do nice in-depth quick videos to kind of show you how to do this stuff. But
Yeah, they go pretty deep. I can also recommend Crypto Sloth and Cryptographics. They've done really good tutorials, but they also get really in depth with like the game theory, the really deep game theory inside of it. So yeah, if
I
you want to go deeper, you can check those out as
I
well.
need to go watch Crypto Sloth's video, because I'm sure
Mhm.
I heard that he actually got into a conversation with Alex about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got that recommended to me earlier and completely
Mhm.
forgot to. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely go check him out as well. There's some good in-depth videos out there, but I wanted to get something up to give you guys just some basic concepts to cover what's going on.
Yeah.
So the third function, so you can not only stake Hedron and earn Icosa, but then you can stake your Icosa once you earn it through, maybe you sold an HSI, maybe you got it through a Hedron stake. But once you have that Icosa, you can stake it and earn both Hedron and Icosa. Like Hedron staking, the Icosa yield comes from daily burnt Hedron. Hedron yield comes from borrowed HSI stakes in the EES penalties collected by the contract over time. So we're just going layer after layer after layer and creating these derivative ways of being able to make yield from these contracts. Just basically, and what else is really interesting too that I've seen is that you have a lot of people that are in Hex, but maybe they got in at a time where they weren't necessarily able to get a great position. And now that these derivative markets are coming out, you have these sub communities of people that now have that opportunity again. And it's really interesting to see. Competition is great for any market. So it's really nice to see these sub communities being able to be created from people to get larger positions in these, derivative markets that follow, um, you know, uh, some of the things that we believe in Hex, and also some of its security model as well. So really interesting there. And the one I'm really interested here is we are all the SA. This is the pool that we're talking about. So you can enter into a private staking pool which generates yield in Icosa. And this is a time limited entry event. Once the pool starts, no one can ever enter that pool again. So as stakes and yield increases, so as stakes and yield increases for all of their stakers. So what's interesting about this is a one-time deal.
Yeah.
You get into this pool, you're making yield in Icosa. Once you, because how I learned it earlier is that whenever you go into this pool, you're going to be given an NFT. And as long as you hold that NFT, you're going to be earning Icosa. But once you
Mhm.
sell that NFT for that yield, you can never get it back. And so what this creates is a deflationary pool where over time, as people kind of take their yield, you're going to have a larger increased position for holding longer, which is going to allow you to make more yield from the pool. So really interesting one-time event. As I understand it in David Feder's video earlier, there's going to be a couple different coins that you can give in order to get this NFT. Whether that might be Ethereum or whether that might be USDC coin. I'm pretty sure they said Hex will be available too.
Hex, Hedron, and Maxi as
Hedron.
well.
Hedron and Maxi as well. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
most of the coins, plus like Ethereum, that surround the Hex ecosystem, you're gonna be able to stake into this pool to get this NFT. And like I said, you know, hold that NFT for as long as you can, because it's basically just a waiting game so that you can try to make the most yield possible.
Exactly. And also, not only can you burn the NFT to collect the yield, but since since it's an NFT, you can actually sell it on OpenSea and other NFT marketplaces if you want. So
Oh,
if
interesting.
if you're in a position where like you really need a big chunk of money, like you may even consider not burning it, but just sell it to somebody else that wants to hodl it, and then they'll probably like depending on what method you use, like the auction method, or you could set a high flat price for it. And I think people that realize the value of that are going to pay a really high premium on it, because they know that it continues to collect the yield, as long as it exists and isn't burned. So yeah, if you're in a position where you need to, if you just want to collect on that yield, you don't have to burn it. You can sell it to somebody else for higher.
Dropping shit. Orion, thanks for coming through, bro. There is the link for icosa.pro. The actual app for testing this out is basically the same URL, but app.icosa.pro. So just an app dot in front of it. That's where you can actually go. And if you change your network settings to the test net, you can actually go in and play around on the contract right now, to kind of play around on it and see what you might want to do whenever it actually drops. So again, that's here. I'll go ahead and drop that in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing around on Icosa on Pulsing testnet. It works pretty great.
Yeah, I'm excited. And so that's another thing to kind of take into mind, guys. If you've got these stakes, whether it's the Hedron stake, whether the Icosa stake, whether you're in the SA pool, all of those things are going to be copied over to Pulse Chain whenever it releases.
Exactly.
So you've got all these different options, and it's basically a 2x option, because you're going to get that copy. So yeah, Icosa.pro, that's what we're looking at right now. If you guys want to go play around, switch your network settings over to the testnet and go to that app.icosa.pro, and you can play around on everything on there.
Oh, funny enough, we might actually get a third copy too, because the ETH merge is happening soon. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe the miners stay behind, and
and that's crazy too, because you had literally just mentioned that on one of our previous streams. And then they came out with the news not too long later, and I was like, he called it. So on top of all of that, we could get this ETH merge, which is also going to be another copy. So load up your hex bags, get your Hedron stakes ready. If you want to sell an HSI, get you some immediate Icosa so that you can get that staked. It's all going to be copied over. Some things to think about. So what's the point? Incentives for both Hedron and Hex holders. Icosa exists to both allow Hedron holders to generate yield and to absorb free market Hex in the form of HSI Hex stakes, and distribute those to the community in a way that equally benefits both Hedron and Hex. Hedron stakers can enjoy yield in the form of Icosa, as well as the burning effect of the Hsi buyback mechanism. Hex stakers can enjoy decreased sell pressure and the ability to bid on these HSI Hex stakes with freely minted Hedron. So decreased Hex sell pressure, decreased Hedron sell pressure, scarce token supply, increased Hex staking incentive, increased Hedron burning incentive, and reduced liquidity scavenging. So bullish, 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 and bullish.
Yeah.
A lot of good things that this does for the Hex ecosystem, and it's part of the reason I'm so excited about it and had a good time to stream about it too. We're getting some pumping. It releases
For
tomorrow.
sure. Yeah, it releases tomorrow, literally. So
Yeah, so great time to get people hyped about it. Do you know exactly? Is there like a time ticker that it's a time that it's gonna tick over and be ready, or is it
yes,
midnight?
actually, it's basically the same as all Ethereum smart contracts. They're based on the UTC time. So basically, it's the same as the Hex rollover of when
Okay,
we get paid our
okay.
yield. So it would be 5 Pacific and 8 Eastern. So
8 Eastern,
yeah,
so
yeah,
7 Central. Okay, cool,
yeah,
cool, cool,
7
cool.
Central. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll be
Mhm.
ready for that tomorrow. I hope everybody else is just as excited too, because this is
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, it shows in the price. This is bullish, and it's
Yeah,
getting people excited to be in this ecosystem, even in a
for
bear
sure.
market. So
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of good
actually,
things.
there's a specific technical reason why both Hex and Hedron are pumping. Sort of other than the fact that people are kind of buying the dip, but it's also because there's a wall of liquidity that the Hex OA put up.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's the Hex Hedron pair basically, and yeah, we're currently kind of eating through that wall because there's so much FOMO buying happening. But
Yeah,
basically, since it's that pair, then like both of them, both the assets are moving up in parallel. Yeah, because they're bonded together. So yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty interesting. Basically, Hedron is pulling Hex up with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
so excited to have this stream whenever Pulse Chain launches. Because I
yeah,
mean, me and Alex were talking about it the other day. I mean, you're gonna have Hedron, Icosa, Hex, Maxi, all copied over, and then you're gonna have Pulse Chain, PulseX, and whatever the incentive token is for providing liquidity on the network. So, you
Yeah,
know,
and Maxi too. Man.
yeah.
just while we're here, we did just hit 7 cents, so the pumping continues.
Oh wow.
Nice, nice,
Nice.
nice little stream pump. We're getting a nice little green candle here, so we'll see how far it goes. Hedron is also still going up,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, everything's looking really good right now. This was a great time to stream.
Mm.
So I'll get back to this. The Icosa staking system is designed to complement the Hex protocol as well as bring additional tokenomics and utility to the Hedron protocol. So you get one stake per wallet. Each wallet can hold only a single stake of each type. While Hex may be viewed as a blockchain certificate of deposit, Icosa is more designed to be more of a blockchain savings account, which you can add to over time. Um, so again, I think for this part specifically, you guys should definitely go check out one of those videos we mentioned earlier, David Feeder, Crypto Coffee, or Crypto Sloth. Um, but you'll be able to stake for a certain amount of time. What was the deal? Because I know you have to wait a certain amount of days before you can actually end that stake. But I'm a little bit confused on past
Mm.
that or how it may penalize it, because I also know there's like over here, no maximum stake link. So there's no maximum stake link
Yeah.
for any stake within the Icosa protocol.
Exactly. So, yeah. So the staking system in Icosa is a bit different from Hex. Whereas Hex, you specifically select an exact stake length in the number of days. But with the stuff in Icosa, there's no yeah, you don't do that. Basically, your stake only has a minimum based on the volume of coins that you're staking relative to the entire supply or to the yeah, to the entire supply, I think it is. um and then there's no maximum. So after you serve your minimum, you can unstake at any time, or you can just leave. You can just let the stake keep running for as long as you want and keep
Okay.
collecting yield. um and uh the the payouts to the staking pools, they're based on the Hex share rate. So it's one of those things where you have to weigh the opportunity cost of, like, if you try to end stake and then compound, like, put your yield back into your principal and then compound and make a new stake, you're in a situation where you're fighting against the hex share rate, so you're pretty much always going to get diminishing returns. And yeah, I think Alex designed it that way specifically to model it kind of off of the way that the hex staking system works. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's better to leave the stake running as long as possible, because you're locked in at that earlier stake rate, basically. And then you can also add to your stake. You could add new coins to your stake, but the thing is, it resets the minimum, and then you kind of have to start over based on the league you're in at that time.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I remember that part. So thanks for
Yeah.
clearing that up. Because also how I understand it is based on how much you put into the stake, kind of how you get T shares and Hex. I believe it's B points you get.
Something like, well, yeah.
It's like
It depends on how much you're putting in, but it's like, B points and T points, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So as you add to this stake, you're going to increase, how many B points you get, and that's
Yeah.
going to affect what yield you're getting, and kind of the same way that how many T shares you have affect how much yield you're getting as well. So only one stake. It's more of a savings account that you can kind of add to. And like you said, that T-share rate's kind of fighting against it, but you can add to it over time to try to fight against that and keep making as much yield as you would like.
Yeah, exactly.
So it
There-
definitely
there's a- oh, go ahead.
it definitely incentivizes to try to keep adding to that over time.
Yeah. One way to work around this whole one stake per wallet thing is, basically just, create, you can create like 4 more wallets, so you'll have 5 total. And then theoretically, if you have enough of the asset, you can basically do like a staking ladder of each league status. And then, like, if you search up there's like a strategy, like the waterfall strategy, I think it's called. It's basically you keep rolling the smallest stakes, or all the stakes into the largest wallet, and then you kind of snowball it that way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Huh.
yeah,
That
it's
sounds
pretty
dope.
interesting. It's a lot of work, because you have to maintain like 5 different wallets and stuff. But it's I mean, if you're into being a little more proactive about interacting with your crypto, then it seems like a pretty good way to snowball and
Yeah.
compound your gains.
And especially on Pulse Chain with the gas fees being lower, it's going to be a lot easier to do something like
Yeah,
that as well. So,
for sure.
I mean, it's what these derivative markets are going to create. They're going to create people that are, going to come out with more complex game theory on how they want to handle these things. And that's what makes it really interesting, is just like the interactivity it's going to add with the Hex ecosystem, because people just have so many different options to make yield now. Some with looser restrictions, some of them with harder restrictions, but obviously different risk and reward that comes with each. So that's really cool. So yeah, as we mentioned, you can add capital to your stake. Stakers can add capital to their stake at any time as they see fit in order to benefit from additional yield on following days. However, this will reset the minimum stake length, as Vince mentioned, for said stake if applicable. Those who choose not to add capital over time will be diluted by those that do. So it's and that's another characteristic that kind of follows the Hex contract, because if you're not adding to your principal over time because of the T-share rate, you will be slowly diluted of that yield over time. And this is kind of the same kind of concept, just in a little bit of a different way. So minimum stake lengths. Minimum stake lengths are enforced by the protocol, which also provide a bonus to the staker. Large stakers are forced to stake for longer amounts of time, but receive a yield bonus for doing so. You could choose to end the stake early, but there will be penalties applied to your stake principal. So really cool stuff there. The HSI buyback that we talked about earlier. So the Icosa protocol will buy any and all HSI NFTs created by the Hedron protocol at a rate determined by its borrowable amount of Hedron and the Hex share rate at the time of sale. These HSIs are then detokenized and borrowed against by the contract to be sent to the Hedron liquidation auction 90 days later. 10% bonus for 5555 stakes. Stakes are borrowed against and sent to the auction. 1 to 10% bonus for stakes with the Hedron launch bonus. All borrowed Hedron is given to the Icosa staking pool. So yeah, the HSI just giving you another option to kind of get that instant Icosa. Adds more. It adds more of that borrowed Hedron to the Icosa staking pool, kind of increasing the yield that it's paying out to people. And then also it pays you bonuses for that max length. Really cool stuff there. This is what I'm really interested in. This staking pool is just too. I think it's really cool because now, like, I don't know, before we're all kind of competing to stake the longest to kind of be like, the strongest holder and to be able to get the greatest amount of yield. But now they just straight up turned it into a waiting game. You've got one thing that's making you all this yield, and the longer you hold on, the more that other people and the fact that it's only a one-time entry as well, it kind of creates this all or nothing pool competition between everybody.
For sure.
So that's going to be really cool. So by staking NFT, you'll have the option to purchase an NFT from the Icosa smart contract, which earns yield in Icosa during the limited We Are All the SA event. This is no set price. The price you choose determines the amount of stake points the NFT is allocated. So the stake points is kind of like the T-shares. How much you put in determines how many of these points are allocated to that NFT that you'll be given. So like Hedron staking, yield is determined by the amount of burnt Hedron every day. After the event entry phase has ended, no more entries can be made into the staking pool. The percentage of the staking pool your NFT is allocated determines your percentage of the daily yield in perpetuity. If other NFT holders in their stakes and claim their yield, they cannot re-enter. To end the stake and claim the yield, you must exit the staking pool. Because no new entries can be made into the pool, the percentage of the pool allocation for all other NFT holders goes up when these stakes end. The last man standing could earn 100% of the pool's yield. So think about that. Think about how crazy something like this might be, 20, 30 years from now, when there's just not a lot of people in there, but there's all this yield being sent to this pool.
Exactly. Yeah. There's probably going to be people hodling for decades. So.
Yeah. I mean, who knows how far it goes, but as long as this contract is functioning and people are, with the security model like Hex, I'm sure it will for a long time with no problems. As long as people are interacting with this contract, there's going to be yield continuously sent to this pool. So, one-time offer to get in on that kind of opportunity. Because if you're somebody that's thinking long-term, this could be probably the best opportunity of the contract, in my opinion.
It's only open for 14 days, and there's actually some game theory about like when to purchase these, and so because like if you just all in and buy based on your holdings day one, that might come at a little opportunity cost, because we don't know, like for example, whatever you're holding, like we don't know if the price will be higher within the 14 days. So if you actually wait and look at the price, like monitor the price charts a bit, you could get more value for the percentage of what the NFT is worth in the pool if you wait for the price of for example, if you're choosing to pay in Hex, you might want to speculate and wait for the price to go up, and that way your NFT will be worth more dollar value when you go to purchase it.
So it's almost
Yeah.
because obviously there's always the downside to think about, but especially with the way these prices have been behaving, you don't know what your dollar value of what you're holding is going to be within these 14 days. I mean, we just moved like, what was it? I think we're up like a little over 30% in the past 7 days. So, for a 14-day period, if you just go all in on day one, like you mentioned, you could miss out on some opportunity cost, especially going down those 14 days, because you might have been able to get more dollar value, giving you more points towards your NFT, which would inevitably pay you more yield over the time that you decide to hold this thing. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, one way to mitigate that actually is maybe just to dollar cost average in every day. Like if you see what you think is like a high point in the price every day for 14 days, just make just purchase an NFT at that moment, and then you'll end up with 14, and then yeah, and that way you kind of hedge yourself against the risk of losing out on a local all-time high.
So is this something that you can add to over time over
No,
the 14 days?
oh no, but I'm saying you don't have to have just one NFT in your wallet. You can make as many of these WhatsApp NFTs as you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, so you can kind of quote unquote ladder, so to speak, just by making several NFTs, and then
Oh,
if, for
okay.
example, like if you wanted to make 15 NFTs and kind of mimic your 15-year hex ladder, for example, then yeah, you can just make 15, and then each year goes by, you can decide if you want to burn the NFT or sell it, and then you can collect whatever payment or the Icosa
Okay,
yield, and then you can use that for
gotcha.
whatever else.
All right,
Yeah,
so thanks for clearing that up.
yeah,
So you can only have like one stake of like the Hedron or
yeah.
Icosa that you can add to over time. But as
Yeah,
far as this pool is concerned, over the 2 weeks, you can make as many NFTs as you want. Just don't put
exactly.
all of your dollar value into one, because you don't know what kind of value you'll be able to get in 14 days later. So yeah, good idea there to kind of just dollar cost average, try to get the best value at each time, and yeah, just kind of build up over that 14 days, try to get as much value as you possibly can into this pool, and then just
Mm,
hold on to those stakes for as long as possible. And that is
yeah,
also nice too, because it gives people the ability to have multiple NFTs that they could sell, so that they could still have a position in the pool, but still kind of see some of that yield at a certain point in time. So
yeah. It's great to
um
have options, and
yeah.
also, um, you can also, like, for example, like say you're in another bear market in like 3 or 4 years, like if people need the money, they might be in a position of desperation where they might need to sell their WhatsApp NFTs like at a discount just to pay for bills or whatever emergency that they might have. So they might sell it at fair market value at the time of whatever market price ICOS is, or maybe even lower. So you could potentially scoop up some of these NFTs at a discount if the situation is right. So, yeah.
Sweet. Oh yeah. Well, we kind of gone through everything. I don't intend this to be too long of an episode, so I'm just gonna
Mm,
kind of summarize real quick. You can stake your Hedron. This contract drops tomorrow, so if you have some Hedron that you want to stake, go ahead and get it ready to go.
mm,
Heck yeah.
Also, you can also do the HSI to get immediate Icosa, so you don't have to wait on your Hedron stake to mint to kind of create that yield before you get to touch any Icosa. You can
yeah.
sell HSIs immediately, get Icosa, so that you have something to put into the staking, into your Icosa stake. So if you want to get Icosa immediately, go ahead and get your HSIs ready. That way you could sell it and get your Icosa. Um, Go ahead and have your Hedron ready so you can stake that. And then if you want to go ahead and get into the pool, like I said, you definitely want to disperse that over, the 14-day period. Make sure you're catching some good price points, because we are pumping right now, and we don't, with Hex, you don't know where that's going to be. When that thing
Yeah.
runs, it runs.
Yeah.
Um, But also do keep in mind we are in a bear market, and there is still some stuff, especially like Richard was mentioning. We have Mt. Gox coins coming out of Bitcoin, and unfortunately, these markets are just reflexive. So we still could see some more downside. It's definitely good to keep yourself honest, speculate in both directions, because markets are unpredictable, and quite frankly, we don't get to choose what the market decides. The market will decide where it goes. Yeah.
Oh,
So have
for that the Mt. Gox thing, there's actually a little interesting bit of news of no, not news, but I mean it's kind of old already. But there's a piece of information that kind of counters that a little bit, which is that there's a hedge fund named Fortress that I think a couple years ago they offered to buy up people's positions in the settlement at a
nice.
discount. Yeah, because they were banking on the fact that it wasn't certain when the case would actually get resolved. So if people wanted like money right away, that they could just sell their stake, so to speak, in the settlement to that hedge fund. And so we don't know exactly how much they bought up, but that could be a factor that kind of mitigates any sell pressure that might come from the selling of the coins,
Nice.
because it's reasonable to assume, I think, that since they're a large hedge fund, they probably don't need to sell their coins right away. They could just hold, they just hodl for the next bull run. So
And I mean, either way, guys, no matter what Bitcoin decides to do, these markets are reflexive and they do impact each other at times. But overall, Hex is decorrelated, and it's showing multiple times that Bitcoin can dip and it'll take off. So we've seen it before. We've performed against the price of Bitcoin over the past 2.5 years. So it's also possible that we see some downside to the in the main markets, but Hex and the Hex ecosystem could have already found its bottom. Because we've definitely seen some decorrelated price action since Hex has launched, and we could continue to see that. So always good to keep in mind. So like I said, Icosa comes tomorrow. So get your stuff ready. Go ahead and go to that link that I put in, app.icosa.pro. Put in your pulse chain network so that you can play around on the testnet. And yeah, just kind of get ready for it, because you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be in there trying to get their positions, and like I mentioned earlier, this is a good opportunity to get in and get a good position on something that's here and it's now. So other than that, 7 cent Hex. We're sitting over. We're Hedron's. I think now is at a 14-15x from its bottom, something like that. So we're seeing some good price action. Hopefully we see some more. And yeah, any other outro statements anybody wants to make?
Just get your plan ready, because tomorrow's going to come fast, and everybody's going to be piling in, and get even gas prices might be high because people are just doing all this minting, Hedron, and staking and stuff. So just get everything ready, have a plan, and jump in day one when the contract rolls over, and just have fun, and realize that you kind of made history because you were in the in day one of a coin launch. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah. Anything for you, Alex?
No, nothing much, man. I mean, you guys pretty much said it all. I'm really just tuning in, trying to listen, and get as much knowledge as I can for tomorrow.
Sweet. All righty. Well, you boys have a wonderful night.
All right, take care.
All right. Peace out.
Later.